And as I go through my life, I find myself having more and more stories to tell because I have more and more baggage. Back when these wonderful rolly suitcases first came out, oh, it was really cool and everybody ran out to get one. What did they look like? They were black Samsonite bags, which is wonderful and distinguished, and it matches everything. Until you're standing there at the turnstile and watching your bags come down, and there are 500 black Samsonite bags that look just alike. I started thinking about baggage at first I started thinking about it as the human race. And aren't you glad God didn't make us all alike? Aren't you glad we're not all the same size, the same shape, and the same color? If we were, I would pick a different shape. Color, whatever, but definitely a different shape. But if we were all alike, it would be confusing, it would be boring, and nobody wants that. Because see, they started making the bags in different colors. Okay, the color red is a bright, bold color. And some days, this is how I feel. I feel bright. I feel that I stand out in a good way. And you know what? That's what Jesus said that we're supposed to do. In Matthew 5:14 through 16, he tells us, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hid. Therefore, let your light shine before men so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. When the bright red bag comes down the turnstile amidst all the black ones, it's easy to find. It stands out. In John 8:12, Jesus spoke to them again, and he said, I am the light of the world. Anyone who follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. You have days like that where you can just feel him. He's in there, and you bounce around, and you know that you're standing out because you have that light. Ephesians 5:8, you were once in darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of the light. Some days that's easy to do. Not all days. But some days that's easy to do, walking in that light. And this is nothing new, but Jesus brought this message way back in the Old Testament. Isaiah said, arise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord shines over you. So some days, I'm light, and I stand out in a good way. Yeah. But God tells us we need to be like little children. Now, what does that mean? I hope it means we get to take naps a lot and have lots of snacks. But think about little children. They believe everything you tell them, do they not? They're wide-eyed, they're innocent, and everything's exciting. And that's how we're supposed to be. And some days, that's how I am. Woohoo! This is exciting, this is fun. But not every day. And God calls us to be flexible. Okay? Now, this is also a piece of luggage. But it looks very different from all the other ones up here. It's flexible. It takes on the shape of whatever you put in it. It can hold a lot of stuff and be really big and full. Or you can put, a pair of socks in it and, wad it up, stick it in your purse if that's what you need to do. God calls us to be like this as well. Oh, man. Sometimes it's a stretch. In Philippians 4:12, I know how to have a little, and I know how to have a lot. In any and all circumstances, I've learned the secret of being content, whether well-fed or hungry, whether in abundance or need. And in 1 Corinthians, Paul says, I have become all things to all people, so that I may be, in every possible means, I may save some of them. Okay? We're called to be flexible like this bag. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to just be a follower and whatever crowd we're with, do whatever they're doing. But where did Jesus go? Everywhere. was no place that he stayed out of. I miss it sometimes still. But some days, I'm like this piece of luggage. Have you ever lost a piece of luggage? Sometimes we get lost. Sometimes we get rerouted and separated from our owner. Sometimes we go to the wrong destination. But the luggage tag will usually help that suitcase find its way back home. So my question to you is, what's your luggage tag say? Who's your owner? Because we know who we belong to. We know where we're supposed to be going. And some days that doesn't always happen. But the redeeming fact is that my luggage tag says I belong to him. And that's where I go back to. So some days I'm like that lost piece of luggage. Isn't this fun? My husband tells me that I am too old and too sophisticated for this to be my set of luggage. He's wrong, of course.
Yes.
No, God calls us to be this. In Proverbs 17:22, it says, a joyful heart is like good medicine. Man, it feels good to laugh, doesn't it? Some days the laughter's not there. In Psalm 100, verse 2, serve the Lord with gladness and come before him with joyful songs. I thought it was so cool when we did music down at the Brinson's church, and the visiting evangelist later in the service was looking for Tammy. Didn't know her name, but she said, where's that little happy one? That's how she referred to her. I love that. It'd be great to be known as the little happy one, because that's how we're supposed to be. The joy of the Lord is our strength, and not just when we feel like it. Philippians 4:4 says, rejoice in the Lord always, all the time, nonstop, 24/7. And some days, this is how I feel. And I'd like to think this is how I look. So I just go with that, and I don't ask anybody's opinion. So some days, there I am. This guy represents how we're supposed to be, because it's firm, and it's strong, and it's solid, and it's got wheels so it can go where it needs to go. And this is how we're supposed to be. He's talking to God, and he refers to him as his rock. He is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I will not be shaken. I have days like that. I am strong. My feet are planted on the rock. My dear brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the Lord's work, knowing that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. Be strong. Be steadfast. Be like this piece of luggage. More often than not, however, I feel like this. More and more lately. Because the longer that we live on planet Earth with the humans, the more beat down we get, the more scars we have, the more we've been through. Now, this piece of luggage definitely is not stylish. It's not hip, it's not cool, neither am I. And when we feel like this, and I often do, Psalm 139:13, when I'm feeling like this, I can cry out as David did and say, God, it was you who created my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb, and I will praise you because I have been remarkably and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know this very well. This piece of luggage can still do the job.
Yep.
It's very functional. It will open. It has the capacity to have new things put in. It has the capacity to lock things restore them and transport them and to do its job. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done. In Isaiah, he reminds us that God gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. So when I have days where this is me, I have to remember he gives strength and he will increase my power. And I can still fulfill my purpose. God reminds us that my grace is sufficient for you, and my power is made perfect in your weakness. And sometimes you look at people and you think, man, they've got it all together. Sometimes people look at me and think that. Not so much anymore. But I had a lady say many, many years ago, it was actually when my first marriage was dissolving, she made the statement, oh, Monty Jo will be okay. She's so strong. Nothing phases her. Nothing bothers her. She'll be fine. Ooh, she saw me as this when I felt like this. You remember, there's a difference in fact and truth. And the fact is, we feel like this a lot. The truth is, we've got this. This is our identity. He's our rock. He's our salvation. He's our stronghold. And it's okay to feel like this because that's part of us. Because his grace is sufficient for me. And his power is made perfect in my weakness. And Paul goes on to write to the Corinthians, he said, I delight in my weaknesses, in insults and hardships and persecutions and difficulties. For when I'm weak, you're strong, and therefore I'm strong, because you're in me. There's one more piece that I haven't talked about, because all these pieces are in here, all of them. Sometimes I'm weak, sometimes I'm strong, sometimes I'm all things to all people. Sometimes I'm fun and joyful, and sometimes my light shines and stands out. Because hot pink is the color of passion. Proverbs 28:1. It says the righteous are as bold as a lion. Hot pink's a pretty bold color, is it not? And we're called to be bold for him. We're called to have passion. And passion is not weak and quiet. In Acts 4:13, I love this. It says, when they, the people, the other humans, when they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized that they were unschooled, uneducated men, ordinary men, it says, the people were astonished, and they noticed and took note that these men had been with Jesus. Whoa! Hanging with Jesus makes you smarter. Cool! Just being in his presence transformed Peter and John to a point where it was astonishing the crowd. Wait a minute. These men are not scholars. They haven't been to school. They're uneducated. How are they speaking so boldly? They've been with Jesus. Yeah. In Colossians 3:23, it says, whatever you do, do it enthusiastically, with all your heart, as if working for the Lord and not for human masters. We are directed to go about things with passion, with great passion. In Romans 12:11, it says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor as you serve the Lord. We're called to be passionate about God and never lack that passion. That's how we're supposed to be for God. Desperate, passionate, more than anything. He's what we want. When Jesus was asked, what is the most important commandment? He said the most important commandment is you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. That's passion. And that's what we're called to be. And if we are that, it's okay when we have days like this, probably be no sweet. But what's cool? I don't have to pick one piece. Because all of these are who I am. Now, you might have chosen different representations, and I don't know what your luggage looks like. But the many, many parts of our personality, they were all created by God, the ultimate designer, the ultimate creator, and we're his masterpiece. We are his favorite work of art. How bizarre. And he loves us when we're running around being joyful, and he loves us when we're letting our light shine before men, and he loves us when we're in a dark, desperate place, and when we fall down. So, the next time that you hear, boy, he's got a lot of baggage. Yeah, me too. So do I. And I love it all.